saying that all the APSMs, which is my role, are
Yeah.
going to be directly held responsible for getting people out by 11 a.m. That's our new thing. I was like, that's great. I come in at 11 a.m.
How do they figure you're going to do that?
They want us to get on the doctors to move the process along.
Well, but if you're not there before 11, it's going to be a little difficult.
Yeah, a little unclear. So,
ain't it grand?
yeah. So, hey, Bill.
Morning,
Hey,
Bill.
how you doing, Adam? David?
Good.
How are you this morning?
I'm well, thanks. A lot better than last week.
Yeah, I get it.
Matt. Yeah, but the biggest thing here is Madeline is recovering from her knee surgery, and that's a hard process.
Yeah.
That happened last Thursday was her surgery.
Did you have it complete or?
Complete, yeah.
Well, believe me, I can sympathize.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
I
understand how much ice is required.
yes, indeed. I hope she has you have a good PT coming to the house.
Yeah, that hasn't started yet. That'll be in the second week, they said. So
mine started sooner. Well,
oh yeah, they did a little bit in the hospital, and she has things she's doing to get the angle flux and everything going. But
tell her David encourages her to be assiduous in her practice.
Yes, I will. Assiduous. I'll
Assiduous, right there.
I'll use that exact word.
Because it really is important.
Yes.
Particularly depending how well the surgeon did his job too.
Yeah.
But
well, it's a very neat job from exterior indications.
Yeah, well, that's not always the entire picture.
I'm sure not. And I'm sure if I saw it, I wouldn't know what I was looking at either.
Yeah, I have had some complaints about my knee. Excuse me. But it works. And
yeah.
I now understand why Bruce constantly says, do anything you can not to have knee replacement.
Yeah.
But sometimes you have to.
Yeah, I think she was definitely at that point. But, this doc said, on average about the some people do a little better, but getting to about 80% of what a good knee would be is kind of what the surgery offers.
Yeah, I would say I've gone beyond 80%, but I had to really work at it.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah. Yes, it's the thing, for instance, I cannot crouch all the way down. It has, and I have really worked on that, and I've increased enormously.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I can crouch, but I can't get all the way down even yet. So that may affect gardening.
Yeah, well, the biggest gardening thing is kneeling, and she had the other knee done, and so you have to adjust the mechanics of how you get close to the ground.
Yep, absolutely. And I think knee pads are required.
Yeah, knee pads or, sitting on your rear end next to it instead of trying to kneel or,
See, that's the thing with the knee replacements. I don't think you can always get clear down.
yeah, yeah.
And being, 80 or 85% down is not a comfortable position.
No, no.
Where did Joanne go?
It was here.
Yeah,
Oh,
she came and left. Maybe she's having internet issues.
How is Bill Nagel doing?
His his 5 hernia surgery went well, and he's having a follow-up appointment today, which is why he's not here.
Mhm.
But he said that's going well, and he's got his knee surgery scheduled for late July.
Oh, great.
Par-
Well,
partial replacement. So Joanne,
while you're on the line, before she gets here, is there a number 41 of handouts?
uh-huh.
Okay, because I sent you an email. I have 40 and 42, and I must have accidentally deleted it.
41 may have been the one where we just did review and I didn't have any new notes.
Okay,
I'd have to look at that.
because I missed a class in there, and I have 39. I have everything up to 39, then 40,
Yep.
and then 42.
Yeah, she lost her internet. Bill, I will check that out and I'll send you a note confirming.
Oh, okay,
But I
okay.
think that's the case.
Well, if that's the case, yeah, that's fine.
Well, just let you know so you're not wondering. Today is the beginning of a new session,
Oh, yeah.
oh,
and we'll go ahead and hopefully Joanne will be able to join us at some point, but we are recording, so
okay.
questions?
I don't have a question. I'll just say, having missed the last class, your reference to heaven and earth was helpful for the expanding and contracting,
Uh-huh.
because I still do that occasionally, and actually it reminded me of what I should be doing when I'm doing it.
Oh, good. Good. Yeah. I like heaven and earth a lot.
I was thinking about that, and in a way that with the contracting and expanding, every posture of this has a lot in common with heaven and earth.
Oh, yeah. And everything else, actually.
Yeah, right.
Eventually, but yeah, it does, absolutely. Things that we learned in Energy Gates and Heaven and Earth are really core in what we're doing here. So, yeah. Anything for you, Adam?
No, I think no real questions. 5 has been going well, I think.
Good.
I feel a pretty good sense of the energy. Kind of going through the circuit from the side channels towards the center. I
Uh-huh.
won't be bold enough to say I'm in the central channel, but it's moving in that direction.
Yeah,
Which is good. I think I'm still kind of hit or miss on the quad fold versus the quad squat. I find that for whatever reason challenging to not do the squat in 5.
Yep.
So still working on that piece of it.
okay. Well, we're gonna complicate things today, although this is we're going to begin to look specifically at the C curve, which both of you have worked on before, I think. And Bill has been asking questions about, so maybe we can be a little more specific today.
Mhm.
And actually, in as you were talking, Adam, about the difficulty with the quad fold, it is also a complication in a way when you really get the C curve functioning in both the fold and the squat, because it's present in both movements.
Mhm.
But they're both very different.
Mhm.
So we'll begin to get a little more specific about that here today. So what we're looking for is that you want the same thing happening with your spine that you're doing with your lower dantian. And this is effectively what's happening. So this is going to be an introduction to it, and later on we'll get into the full thing. I'm just gonna enlarge me for, whoops, no, I didn't. Now and then. It's interesting. I've lost me.
We still got you.
Here's Joanne. Do you see me?
Yeah.
Yes, you're on camera too, or whatever, but
Yeah. What's really interesting is that I'm not seeing me at all. And I've never had this particular issue before. Oh, I see. Here we go. Hi, Joanne.
I lost my whole internet system for a
Oh.
while. I don't know what's going on.
Oh, wow.
well,
No
welcome.
phone, no nothing.
Mm.
Oh, there
But
we
we're
go.
back.
There we go. So I've got, that's very interesting. Well, can you see me, Joanne?
Yes,
Yes, I can. I can see all 4 of us. Yep.
Okay. Well,
Mm.
I don't know.
Internet bugs are working hard today.
I guess so. I really. Well, that's all right. I don't need to see me.
You don't need, as long as we can see.
So we're just starting to talk about C-curve, Joanne.
Okay. Uh-huh.
So the spine goes up pretty much to the back of the head and right down to the base of the sacrum. The middle of your spine, give or take, is somewhere around the lower bottom of the lower ribs. It depends upon how long or how short your spine is. So if you could imagine that my palm is my spine, and then when you want to bend your spine, you find the middle of it, and then your head is going to go down, and then your pelvis is going to go up. And then your pelvis is going to go down, and your head is going to go up. And you all know that, but I'm just making sure. The whole spine is going to bend at the same time. The head goes down and the pelvis comes up and at the same time, and then you do the reverse. So keep something in mind. There's an old joke from the Mad comic books which said, you want to get rid of 20 pounds of ugly fat, cut off your head. Well, your head is heavy. And the head goes down and the pelvis comes up at the same time. And then you do it again. Now we have a question. How well do you feel your spine? Maybe you feel it really well, in which case you won't need this, but let's say you don't. In that case, you're probably going to have a hard time knowing what is bending and how much. So what I want you to do is to stand up. Just establish a good basic structural position. And recognizing that this is going to take a little bit of time. And I want you to start from the top of your head and do outer dissolving along your spine, ice to water, water to gas. And start going down your spine all the way to the bottom of your tailbone, your sacrum. Dissolving your spine. You want to spend enough time so that you can get somewhat of a clear feeling of what these different parts of your spine feel like. So it's not, am I feeling it or am I not? You know what's going on. And then I want you to dissolve upwards from the sacrum. Starting at the sacrum and dissolve up your spine to the crown of your head. And now I want you to take the edge of your hand and put it about where you think the middle of your spine is located, just in the front of your body. So just place the edge of your hand about where you think that is. And remember, the upper part is going to bend down, and you're going to get your pelvis to go up, which will stretch your spine from the middle. The pressure of the two ends will meet in the middle. So just try that. Bending both top and bottom, and then straightening. And so as you straighten, you're stretching your spine out. This is like a bow and arrow. You make a bend in the string, and now you want to make it straighten. And now I want you just to tuck the pelvis. We're separating the pelvis out because it probably will be more difficult. If your pelvis goes forward, your tailbone goes forward. And when your pelvis goes back, your tailbone goes back. And what you're looking for is that when you come up, you want to have the sense of your perineum going straight down to the ground. If you do that, your tailbone will come back to a straight position. So just tuck the pelvis. When your perineum is going down to the ground as you straighten, that's penetrating your legs and causing your legs to straighten. And when you bend, your perineum tucks under. So you want to think about your pelvis moving from the bottom, from the perineum. Just have your pelvis and your lower spine shoot down towards the floor so you can feel your lower spine being stretched, even if it's just a tiny bit. And now straighten up. And I want you to bend the top and the bottom together. And then keep the top bent and see if you can make a clear distinction between the bottom of your spine straightening and the top still being bent. So you're separating those two. And then bend the top. And when you straighten up, feel your spine. Feel like it's going right out the crown of your head. And the trick here is to have your head not go backward. So when your head is bent, you want it to go up, not backwards. Keep in mind, the metaphor for this is bend the bow, shoot the arrow. An arrow goes straight. It doesn't wiggle all over the place. And it definitely does not go backwards. So bending top and bottom together and straightening together. Have a sense of pushing the crown of your head straight up. As you bend the neck and then straighten, you want to straighten the spine and have your head go straight up. Okay, relax. You can sit down. Any questions or comments in there? Okay. Now here's something else that's going on. When you first begin to do this, it may be that the strength to move your spine, how you want to move it, is weak. And what you do is very simple. When you bend your spine, you bend your legs a little. But then when you want to straighten up, rather than just having it come from your spine, use the straightening of your legs to push your spine up straight. Now, normally in time, that will yield over to doing it with your legs and your spine, both going up at the same time. But if you have to, use your legs to raise your spine. As I mentioned a minute ago, your head, when your spine straightens, it does not go back. And actually what makes it very tricky is the neck. If you talk about bending and straightening from the large vertebra at the base of your neck, C7, that's not too hard because it's big. But getting the crown of the head to rise straight up, this people are not used to. And what people are much more used to doing is having their head go backwards to straighten the neck. So you can see this, that even just with me sitting, that when you straighten up, very often people push the head back. And you don't want to do that. You want to really have the sense that the head is shooting up, so it ends going up. Now, while that's good for some things, pushing the head back in terms of getting the chi to penetrate from your central channel through the center of your brain to Bai Hui, it's not the best method. Now, there is a principle in China called crane neck, and I know we've talked about this before. A crane has a long curved neck, which will bend and straighten. So what is it about this? Number one, that when you're going down, you have to put your attention on the back of your vertebra. And when you go up, you have to put your attention on the front, the anterior side of your vertebra. We'll go into this much more later in the more advanced part of our program, and we'll show you a whole bunch of exercises on how to be able to do this better. But for the moment, let's stand again. And breathe and comfortably land where you are. And from the crown of your head, just put your mind inside your body. And as you're standing, just see if you can have a sense of where the vertebrae are in the front of your spine. So it's easy for us to know where the posterior side of our spine is. We can feel that, we can see it. But we need to be really clear about feeling the anterior side, the front of your spine. Now, damage to the vertebrae in the front of the spine, the anterior side, are often responsible for more really serious back problems, especially ones which require surgery, than the posterior side, the vertebrae in the back of your spine. If those are not really able to move or do properly what they should, problems that can arise are usually less serious than the ones caused by the anterior side. And now put your mind on the posterior side of your spine. Just feel the back, the more familiar part. And then move your mind back to the anterior side. And the basic thing to understand about your spine when doing gods is that you have to activate both of them. The spine basically does two giant things. It bends. If your spine couldn't bend, then you would not be able to sit in a chair. When you sit down, your spine is usually what allows you to do so. To pick something up, your spine has to bend. But there's another thing. The anterior part of the vertebra is more responsible for sending strength into your arms and your legs. If you don't have enough nerve flow from your spine to your legs, you won't be able to walk. And you definitely won't be able to do sports, and you won't be able to do 1,000,001 other things that you want to do. So the anterior side of the vertebra in the front of your body is where your body derives strength. The posterior side is much more where your body develops flexibility. And you need both in life. There are no two ways about it. Okay, so relax. So another point is that when you're bending your head, you don't want to compress your throat. Bending your throat and the vertebra in the front of your spine. Remember, your neck is part of your spine. And it's very important for people to think that their neck and their, often people think that their neck and their spine are two different things. Your neck is just one end of your spine. So what you need to do when you bend your head is to do a crane neck so that you can create space inside your neck. So the vertebra there in the front of your neck don't get compromised. So we've done this before, but I can put my hand in my throat, and if I just bend my head down, you can hear it begin to affect my voice and my breathing. And so I'm really being compromised by that. On the other hand, if I extend the front of my spine up and then bend it forward, it doesn't impact my speech or my breath. And actually, it doesn't compress the vertebra. So that movement of extending the neck, extending in particular the vertebra in the front of the neck, and then bending forward is really important so that you don't have any pressure on your windpipe. The only way that can happen is if the vertebrae in the front of the throat stretch, and then the ones in the back help with the bend, but in front they stretch. And that creates the space so that the neck has no pressure. That's a crane neck. This is going to happen when you are opening and closing your spine. So when you're doing 5, I don't know how much of me you can see, because I can't see me. I have lost my cameras on here, so I have no idea what you're seeing. But when you go from this position, your hands and arms and neck are closing. And then they are opening. And the physical movement actually can be very, very small, because this begins to be quite internal eventually, based entirely on what you feel in terms of the move of the energy. So that crane neck and the tucking of the pelvis are, of course, going on simultaneously with that movement.
Mm.
So okay, you have a spine. It's a very convenient thing to have. Most people don't have too much difficulty getting their chi to come up at least to the level of the throat notch. It's somewhat difficult to get it to go from there to the crown of the head. A practice that is used in Tai Chi, or a principle that's called in Tai Chi, is the spirit of vitality rises to the crown of the head. And it's really only talking about this technique of the crane neck. Once you understand and can do this technique, then you can project from the throat to the end of your etheric body. And you could do that in gods too, of course, if you want to. But if you project to the end of your etheric body at the head, then you must do it at your feet as well. And you have to do it with both of your hands. You don't just do it in one part of your body. It has to be all 5 extremities, because your 5 extremities, which we sometimes just call the 5 points, all have to have the same amount of chi and the same amount of internal movement in them, so that it causes the chi to circulate in the rest of the body very evenly. When you practice anything in gods, or for that matter, any form of Qigong, that's a big giveaway. How do you know if you're getting your chi to circulate through your whole body or not? Is there any indicator that's worth its salt? And this is the only one. And that is the sense of having energy of the crown of your head, your palms and your fingertips, the bubbling well point in your feet and your toes. They all have to have the same degree of flow. It isn't, I've got it in my hands, but not my head, or I've got my head in my hands, but not my feet. I've got it in 4 out of 5. No, it has to be all 5. And it is because the chi is reaching these 5 points that you can tell that the chi is circulating to the other channels of your body evenly. If it is not even, one of those 5 points is going to have a drop in power and chi. So that's an important point. Now, at the same time that you want the chest to drop and not puff out, and the chi from your face is dropping down to your belly, then when your head is coming up, your chest is not moving. And that's very important, because if you do the military or Buddhist or Shaolin Qigong technique of expanding your chest as you inhale, it doesn't work very well. And it's not a Taoist Qigong method. So the chest has to stay soft as the head goes up. Part of the chest staying soft is you want to not compress your lungs. There is no value in having the bag that the air is in getting squeezed off on one end or the other. So how do you do that if the way you're so used to breathing is puffing out your chest to stretch out the bag? The answer is very simple. If you allow the chest to sink, that opens up your lungs. And so here in talking about sinking, we're talking about rather the sense of not puffing it out, but allowing it to sink in, and for the shoulders nest, which actually is the location of lung 1, to soften and sink inward. That allows the lungs to expand out. And eventually, of course, we are breathing into the upper back, which helps this whole thing. And we will be coming to that shortly. So you want to open up your lungs so they're not under pressure from any direction. This is not the same as being crushed in. If the lungs expand to the side and back, all the pressure of your lungs just goes away. Now, another part of this is, with your mind, you need to make your chest soft. Now, why do you need to make it soft? Because that can make it easy to drop the chest. And the lack of tension in your chest is going to make it easy for the chi to drop down from the crown of your head all the way to your belly and down to your feet. If you tense your chest, your chi could lock in your chest, which is how it's done in Shaolin, but it's not how it's done in Taoist techniques. Though this points to the difference between the soft integrated methods of Taoism rather than the more segmented muscular approach of Shaolin. Is that a question?
No, just absorbing.
Okay. So stand up again. And breathe and let yourself land and be comfortable where you are. Make sure you're not collapsing your structure in any way. And extend your mind through your body. And now we have several things happening at once as you do this C curve. So the spine is bending to the middle. Your head is doing a crane neck, and your pelvis is tucking under and coming up. And then two things happening is coming. As these two things are happening, the energy is coming to the middle. And then you have your head rise and your pelvis drop down. And the energy is going from the middle to the extremities. So just keep doing the C curves. So you want to have your chest hollowed out, sinking in. It's actually concave. Chinese language talks about hollowing the chest. That it is concave is just assumed. Now, one other thing that's very important is that when you do this, you should not have in any way a sense of any part of your diaphragm being compressed. Your diaphragm has to have lots of movement, lots of space. So neither the diaphragm, the spine, the head, or the neck should feel compressed in any way, shape, or form. Make sure that you're doing the crane neck at the top. Don't let the head just bend. And now I'd like you to just do a few repetitions of movement 5 and do it with the C curve. Getting the crane neck and the tucking of the pelvis to coordinate with the movement. Adam, I think your head is still coming too far forward.
Okay.
Take it up and then bend a little forward. Okay, pause for a moment. So one thing that I want you all to be aware of, because of the way this movement works, one of the things that needs to happen is when you arrive at this point, the bend begins. So that does not mean that the arms continue to stay straight or extend further going down. The arms start to bend, the fingers start to bend, the wrists start to bend right away. And they continue to bend all the way until they begin to extend. To this point, wherever that may be, and it doesn't have to be just here, it may be wherever you feel that, it may be, you know, up or down, wherever that is. But you need to start bending from this point, not when you get to the bottom. Or you won't start pulling in.
David?
Yeah.
Would you say a little bit more about relaxing the diaphragm? I have a lot of, I'm not doing that. That doesn't feel natural. But there's a lot, so everything is relaxed and loose through this whole.
Yeah, so an important part of that is keeping the midriff open, because obviously that's right below the diaphragm. And if you let, as soon as you allow the midriff to collapse, you immediately have started compressing the diaphragm. The other part of that is that you don't want any of the muscles to be contracting so that your diaphragm cannot have its full range of motion. So and also it is that the movement of the diaphragm should not be forced, but it is active, because it is the diaphragm that actually makes it possible for the lungs to function. Bruce likes to say the lungs are stupid. You have to have an active diaphragm in order that you create the space for the air to come in and you compress the air out. But this needs to be not done with tense force. It's just a natural process. And so softening the chest, which means relax the chest, but also relaxing the whole torso. And there's where you have the kind of the difficulty of finding the balance, because we say relax and our tendency is, oh, okay, I'll relax. Well, you just cut everything off by collapsing. So we have to find that in-between point where we're not tense and we're not collapsed and everything is open and able to move and function smoothly. It's a, I don't know, it's a little bit of a difficult point. I certainly would not deny that.
Yeah, for me, it's gotten fairly easy and natural to relax my shoulders and my upper torso, but around the middle and thinking about the breathing and stuff, you know, not so much.
So, and of course, the breathing practice is really important, and particularly at this stage where we're actually still learning about the breathing. And developing the ability to breathe into all these parts of the body without forcing it it's not an overnight process. You know, for many of us, probably most of us often, we're changing the way we're breathing in a significantly large way. And it takes, therefore, a significant amount of breathing practice to arrive at a point where you can breathe into your sides and your lower back and your upper back without focusing constantly on it and also forcing it, but simply allowing it to be. So it's like all the parts of this, of everything we do, it's really a matter of practice. I can't make it happen. I could only work on my own breathing. Other questions? Well, good. Then I'll let you.
Sure.
I'll let you
Oh, did I-
go practice.
Sounds
Thank
good,
you.
David.
Good, thank you.
Have a good day, a good week, Bill.
Take care, guys. I'll see you. Thanks, David.
Goodbye.
So did that raise any other questions for either of you?
I don't think so. I mean, I think everything is things you've covered before. It's just making
Yeah.
sure we're putting it together,
Yeah,
right? So,
for the two of you, there
yeah,
really wasn't much that was new there.
right. Yeah,
So, good review. And good reminders about, keeping the midriff open, making sure the diaphragm's moving. And I find the more you do it, the greater detail you can uncover. So I'm finding a lot of the crane neck is letting you tap into the upper thoracic
Yep,
on a deeper level this time around. But it's also making me find how tight everything is up in that area too.
yeah,
Because I feel like it's tapping into that upper thoracic, because as I try and go up and forward, it's pulling on
Mhm.
everything that's connected. So,
yeah, you just don't want to overdo it,
yeah, I think that's the key there.
because when you do overdo that, it simply actually begins to reverse the benefit.
Mm,
Mhm.
So you really do have to try to not go that far.
Hmm. Same thing on the other end with the tailbone tucking under. I mean, you mentioned there shouldn't be any contraction in the muscle. We're really just trying to relax to let it drop down. And when it does, it should naturally just kind of come forward.
Yep,
Is that right?
yes,
mm,
When going back to get that sensation of the perineum dropping straight to the ground,
yeah,
for me, it almost felt like you could feel kind of the muscles shift forward to get the pelvic to tuck the opposite way. I guess it would be kind of a posterior tuck.
mhm.
So there should be some level of, I guess, muscle activation there, right? To make this,
Yeah,
something needs to move,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
right?
it's going to be pretty hard to do it without any at all.
Right. So don't necessarily fight against it, but don't overemphasize that motion. Is that right?
Absolutely. Whoops. I'm getting a little tiny message up here and I'm trying to see what it says.
Oh,
That's why I'm
The
peering here.
internet gremlins.
David Shaver is talking, it says.
David is talking.
oh, good to know.
Yeah.
No picture. I've lost both cameras. That's very interesting.
Oh, now David is frozen.
What? Now I'm frozen?
Oh, there you go. My internet connection is unstable. You froze for a minute.
Yeah,
Oh,
everyone froze for a second.
it'd be all the internet in Connecticut.
Well, there could be something. Yeah, right. Yeah.
So when you were working on this, David, did you find that wrapping helped you free up and relax the muscles in the back so you can focus on the flexion in the spine?
It's helpful for that, certainly.
Okay.
Hmm.
I found making sure that I got the scapula free
Hmm.
so that they weren't bound up in any way. And that, that's that was part of that shoulder exercise we did.
Mhm.
That circling of the two shoulders. I found I've used that for years because it really helped loosen up my scapula and give me a real sense of the circularity of the movement of the scapula.
Hmm.
So yeah. I mean, it seems like all the parts contribute.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I was thinking today that, or at some point in the last couple of days, thinking about you guys here, that I haven't seen the third paragraph
Uh-oh.
in years. Does it exist in your work?
Not in a while, I have to say.
Hmm.
The third paragraph,
Okay.
I must just mention that Master Joe used to make a particular point of saying, I mean, what he said literally was, it's all in the third paragraph.
Yeah, you said that before. Yeah.
Hmm.
And so it's really important. I mean, because we learned from the beginning, we put a lot more practice into the beginning, but it's really important to focus some practice into that third paragraph, particularly at this point when you actually know everything in terms of the movement.
Hmm.
It may come and go a bit, but nonetheless, you do at some level know it.
Hmm.
It's really good to focus on that third paragraph. And sometimes you can just do the third paragraph as a short form because it actually contains just about everything in terms of postures. So how do you feel you're doing in terms of doing the C curve in your form?
I get about halfway through the form and remember to do it.
I think I'm the opposite. I remember the beginning and then lose track.
I think I've been working on other things, and then as you try and incorporate them into the form,
Yeah.
that thing happens where you start saying, I'm going to focus on one thing. And then somewhere around paragraph 2, I don't know if your mind gets bored, but it sort of rediscovers other things you want to work on. It jumps to those. So one place it jumps is the C-spine.
Yeah,
So yeah, I mean, obviously there's a lot of issues there.
yeah,
A lot of things to work on, including maintaining focus here.
yes.
I find in the form, kind of what I was talking about on coming out of the C-spine with the muscles wanting to kind of engage to get a posterior pelvic tilt,
Mhm.
to kind of get like pushes the lower part of the spine straight and lets the perineum drop down. I find that overemphasized when moving through postures and in a bow stance. I mean, it feels overemphasized. I don't know if it actually is, but it feels like that's what's starting the movement for coming out of the C-spine.
That I understand what you're saying, because I think there probably is a tendency in that direction because you're shifting forward often.
Right.
So there is a tendency to kind of have that feeling anyway.
Mm-hmm.
I think one of the things, is that the C curve, the straightening of the C curve often does not extend all the way through a movement, through that part of a movement.
Mm.
So that I'm thinking, how can I show you what I'm trying to say here? As you I'm trying to think of a good place. Well, actually, one of the more difficult ones probably is wave hands, actually, thinking about that. But going into that in down and under. So we're in single whip and we're bending through a lot of this, and then just here we open, it's where we really open. And it's one of the things to that's the Yang style, isn't it? Make sure I'm doing the right form. Okay. One of the things is that the straightening of the spine, it's not it's not always just a nice smooth. It changes pace. It begins, and then at the end there may be an extra pulse to it. That kind of, I think, depends if you're thinking about application. If you're just flowing, then it's probably going to be smoother.
Okay.
So there's more than one way that you might be doing it. I guess that's what I'm trying to say.
Okay.
So you really have to be clear about, are you just trying to do as smooth a flow as possible, in which case then all of the bending and straightening is going to be pretty constant and smooth. Whereas if you're thinking about application it may actually increase or be fullest at the moment of application.
Hmm.
So we haven't really thought about that. I guess I just got, I just drifted off in there into another whole area, didn't I? But go ahead.
It seems to me that, I was gonna say, it seems to me that some postures are fuller in the C curve than others. So play peapod is an example, right? Where I feel like that our spine is we're clearly curved, right?
Yeah,
More than most, right? And so maybe that part of what you're saying in terms of, yeah, not quite the application, but
well,
there's
yeah,
some postures that really demand this, I guess, or you're not
Well-
really doing it right. It feels to me anyway.
and you're right. It is very subtle in some places.
Mhm.
Very subtle in some places. I mean, if you didn't know that that's what is going on, you
happening.
might even not be able to see it.
Or we might not even know what's going on. I think that's the piece of the practice that we need to make sure we don't lose it because of its subtlety.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That's what I need to think about, yeah.
Because I was thinking, right at the beginning, as you go into that, the very beginning of it, so that you have a bend and you have a straightening, and there actually is a little slight bend and straighten there, but it's very small. I mean, so small it's almost non-existent. And then there's another bend here and then a straighten. And it's, they're all happening pretty fast through there,
Mm.
Yeah,
as are those postures. So there's no time unless you slow it way, way down, which is a very good way to clarify that. Just to slow it way down until you are just, actually, the suggestion is you're taking, 45 minutes to an hour to do a flow.
Mm.
I mean, you're really
that's
slow.
slow, yeah.
Yeah.
So that gives you the time to be really clear about what you're doing.
Mhm.
That can be really powerful if you've never tried that. So I have to admit that's a little hard for my body at this point, but I've done it in the past. It's a very powerful practice to really slow it way down and focus, and again, not unless you have a number of parts that are already incorporated, not to try to put a number of new things in, but
Yeah.
to simply focus on one or what you already have.
Okay.
So why don't you flow through the third paragraph and focus on the spine.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm afraid I can't. My knees are in bad shape today. I think I spent
Oh.
I spent 2.5 hours in the garden planting yesterday.
Oh,
And then it
Oh.
rained. So I am like, and then we stood earlier. So yeah, I think it would be best I don't, but it would be a good review to watch, Adam.
Okay.
But yeah, I can't stand now.
oh.
Sorry, Joanne. That
Well,
must be,
you're trying to do garden work. I mean, it's like garden work is important, right?
yes, absolutely.
Anyway. but
Frustrating though.
Yeah, frustrating, yeah.
I know where I'm trying to go, David.
All right.
I'm trying to get to Repulse Monkey. I don't know how to get there. Let's see.
From,
I lost
Oh,
it.
yeah, okay, okay. I got it. Now we need to go here.
yeah,
Oh, yeah.
There it is.
there you go. Good. So how did you feel about that?
I felt pretty good about the C-spine. I
Yes,
felt like I was able to keep it going through almost all the postures.
yep,
And I felt a few places it was a kind of good feedback in play Peepaw where I think because I was doing the C-spine, I could feel that I was separating the hips and shoulders. I could feel a little like twist, you know?
Mhm.
So, you know, kind of a good barometer for something to work on later to go back and correct.
Yeah,
And it helps get, I think, energy into the hands and feet kind of consistently with posture.
yeah.
Yeah.
It was interesting because I think you were really focusing on the spine. I felt like sometimes some of the other movements got kind of wishy-washy.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It was kind of interesting. And I think that's just, a stage of incorporating this spine movement.
Yeah.
But I felt like you were doing really quite well with that. Although, on our favorite Wild Horses Mane, I felt like it needed the spine more clearly present
Okay.
to drive that a little better.
Okay.
But no, that seemed to me like you really are making some progress with that. Yeah.
Good.
Joanne, do you have any comments since you were?
No, although yeah, just noticed that subtlety of the C curve, right? That there are times when it was much more, I felt like you were obviously doing it, but it's not always easy to tell. And at other times it's very clear. Yeah,
Yep.
but I feel that myself too. So that's just,
Yep.
yeah.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. Well, good. Well, that's certainly something to work on.
Yeah.
Great.
Any
It'll be a
other?
little easier this week because I feel like I've got for the gods class, that one's a bit easier probably. It's
Well,
not one I feel like I need to, focus on as much as.
yeah. Well, this is something you both have worked on previously, so.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I'm still, I had a hard week. I had 2 memorials I had to go to in the past week and I cooked for one of them. So it's been a tough week. I've not done as much practice. And so I need to go back and I need to go back over the notes from last week that I missed. I may have some questions on that, but I'm still, I still feel like I need to practice that more before I have the questions.
Yeah. No, that's fine. Well, good. Well,
Good.
have a good week. I hope
Have a good week,
things
everybody.
smooth out for both of you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank
Right,
you.
good.
David.
Thank you.
Take care, guys.
Yeah, have a good week.
Bye.
Stay well.
You.
Right.
All right.